Welcome back, Social 30-1. Hope you had a good weekend as we set into our new reality. Could be worse. It could be cold and snowy. Wait, it is cold and snowy. Never mind. It can't go on forever. It is going to get better. We'll look at source number 3 of our theme neoconservatism here this morning. So here we get a cartoon. This is actually a former diploma source. So show you what would have been up against if you'd actually had to write the diploma. Uh, we got a boat labeled economic growth, dollar signs. I think it's important to note that on the bow of the boat there is a dollar. So showing you that in this economic system they're in pursuit of the almighty dollar. And then a series of characters, a girl at the stern of the boat saying, "Do something, you bunch of maniacs." She's pointing out they're about to go over a waterfall. But the people in the bow of the boat, the ones actually guiding the boat, or in this case the economy, because the boat does stand for the economy, they seem to be oblivious of the waterfall and the dangers ahead. They're actually not even looking ahead. They're looking back, critiquing the little girl. It's easy just to criticize. I suppose you've got an alternative. Telling people how to get yourself a proper job. Little do the people steering the boat know they're about to go over a waterfall. And so that is the symbolism that you could point out. The dollar, the boat signifies the economic system. These are politicians guiding the boat or the economy, and then maybe just an innocent bystander in the background here. If you really know your stuff, and you don't have to get a good mark on this, but if you really knew your stuff, you would know that these would be neoconservative thinkers and maybe even neoconservative politicians. So, for example, that could be Ronald Reagan, that could be Margaret Thatcher, and so on. You don't have to put that, and you might just word it in such a way that you suggest that that could be who those people are, but we don't know for sure. But I think it's probably Reagan, Thatcher, and so on. Anyway, I think you'd want to allude to the business cycle and just talk about the boat right now would be on the peak, the era of prosperity. And like we've talked about, you don't know when the bust is going to happen. You know after it's happened, but it's too late then. So that boat is about to fall into recession or maybe even an economic depression. If we look back at the characters in the cartoon, Reagan and Thatcher were in power in the early to mid 1980s, and the economy boomed for a while. But by 1987, the world fell into a really deep, bad recession. And that would be the recession maybe that we signify in the business cycle. They're about to plummet into the recession, and you might talk a bit about what that would mean. Unemployment rates will go up, interest rates, etc., etc. But you know what is involved in a recession by now. I can't think of much else you'd want to talk about in terms of pointing out specifics to that source. The girl is warning them to put the brakes on the economy, that too much unchecked spending and prosperity will result in recession, reminiscent maybe of the roaring 20s where America spent too much money on credit, they overinvested, they overproduced, and then they plummeted into a horrible economic depression. In that case, looking back, we know that this won't result in a depression, but that's going to result for sure in a recession. In terms of your links, I think you're looking at for sure rights and freedoms. Maybe there's been too much economic freedom for too long, according to the little girl in the back. Maybe a focus too much on self-interest. For sure, I would see the self-interest. If I think about the dollar bill on the bow of the boat, that would be your self-interest link at that time. Can't think of much else to say. I'm sure that you can. You guys are really smart. You always have very good, valuable input, and I miss it. While we're at it, let's do our relationships. So, source number 1 from last week, Barack Obama. Obamonomics, of course, was Keynesian economics. We talked about what the stakes meant, government spending. The sharks are going to keep coming back and maybe eventually sink that boat. Source number 2 was just sort of a laying out the ideals of neoconservatism. Leave people alone, let us make money and look after each other. Government is really only there to serve the rule of law. Beyond that, people should have economic freedom. And then finally, today's source. So what I think you're looking at, again, your common theme, your concept that links the three sources together, to me, all three sources are alluding to the degree to which the government should involve itself in the economy. Source number one is critiquing government involvement, saying there can be too much. Source number two is saying there shouldn't be very much government involvement at all in the economy. And finally, source three is certainly calling for more government involvement in the economy. We forgot to talk about perspective for source three. I think you'd be looking at someone who is challenging liberalism, critiquing it. We need to be careful. We do need add degree of government involvement. If there's not enough, well, then it's going to result in a recession, etc. So source three again would be calling for more government involvement. Other links that you could talk about, when I look at it, I see source two maybe as the foundation, the ideological thinking of neoconservatism, and it might culminate with this perspective. And it could culminate too with Keynesian economics as a solution to the failure of neoconservatism. And I think another relationship you might talk about is that the sources are contemplating, for sure, sources one and three are contemplating, the fact that maybe there is no ideal economic system. Maybe all economic systems are flawed and you need a balance of the different alternatives to actually make it work. So this guy's saying neoconservatism is not perfect for sure. Source one is saying neoconservatism is not perfect for sure. Maybe we need a balance of the extremes to make an economy last with longevity and good quality of life. That's what I think. I'm sure you have other ideas too, and you shouldn't hesitate to write them down or at least think about them on your own. Good job with that.